Black Hen's Egg, French Folktale. In another time when strange things happened, Tante Eveline's hens laid the biggest eggs of any in the countryside, and those eggs brought the biggest price in the market. So she took the best care of her hens. She fed them good grain and kept their fowl yard swept and fastened the gate securely each night. You can imagine her amazement when she went out to feed them one morning and found a big black hen with a flaming comb scratching among them. "Where did you come from?" she asked. "How did you get in when the gate was still fastened?" Since the black hen only answered her with clucks, Tante Eveline puzzled all the while she scattered the grain. "But I am only wearying my head trying to understand this," she finally decided. "You are here, and that is quite easy to see." The black hen kept with the others, although the red ones would have nothing to do with her. The black hen did not seem to mind, as long as she had enough to eat and a comfortable roost at night. One evening, when Tante Eveline went out with her basket to gather the eggs, she was astonished to see a black one in a nest. "Such eggs I have never seen," she said. "My red hens do not lay red eggs, so how can this hen lay a black one?" She puzzled and puzzled over this as she gathered the eggs into her basket. "But I am only wearying my head over this," she finally decided. "The black egg is here, and that is quite easy to see." As she reached to pick it up, a sudden idea came to her. "I will leave the egg in the nest for the black hen to set on," she decided. "I will find out if a black hen hatches a black chick out of a black egg." She was pleased to see that the black hen agreed with her plan, because the fowl immediately stepped over the nest, fluffed her feathers, and settled on the egg. Next morning, as usual, Tante Eveline came to the fowl yard with her pan of grain. To her surprise, the black hen was nowhere to be seen. She wasn't in the fowl house, and she wasn't on her nest. Only the black egg remained to prove that she had once been there. Now, how did she get out when the gate was securely fastened? Tante Eveline asked the other hens. She wearied her head over this as she scattered the grain for them. "I must let one of my red hens hatch the egg," she decided. "Then I shall see if a red hen hatches a red or black chick out of a black egg." Tante Eveline put the black egg under her most dependable setting hen and left. But when she returned to gather the eggs, she found the red hen had deserted the nest with the black egg in it. "Aye," cried Tante. "If these eggs are not hatched, they will be good for nothing. And if I don't take the black egg away, the hen won't set on them. I shall have to hatch the black egg myself." She put it in her basket. She went back to the house and set the egg on the hearth of the fireplace. "It is surely warm enough here to hatch the egg," she said. "And at night when the fire is out, I will take it to bed with me." And she did, although she had to be especially careful not to toss in her sleep. One afternoon, when the black egg was sitting by the fireplace, and Tante Eveline was kneading bread dough, she heard a crick, crack. She looked around just in time to see the eggshell break into two perfect halves, and a little man, clothed in black, step out. He immediately grew several inches taller, but he was still a tiny man. "Who are you?" cried Tante Eveline. "You are neither a black nor white chick. You are a little man in black." "Hee hee," squeaked the tiny man. "I think I shall like it here." Then he explained, "I am a lutin. I will do all your housework so you may live idly as a queen. But you must take good care of the halves of eggshell, because if they are crushed, I will disappear forever." Tante Eveline asked, "But how can you do my housework when you are so tiny?" The lutin answered, "That is for me to know, and you not to find out. Now, go into the field and gather mushrooms for your dinner." Tante Eveline obeyed, but first she carefully put the halves of eggshell in a velvet-lined box and set it on the shelf by her bed. She puzzled over the tiny man all the time she was picking the mushrooms. Then she sighed, "But I am only wearying my head. He is a lutin and not a red or black chick. That is easy to see." She returned with the basket of mushrooms on her arm. When she opened the kitchen door, she was surprised by the sweet smell of new baked bread. There on the table sat the fat, warm loaves. "Hee hee," squeaked the tiny man. "I surprised you, didn't I? But I will work no more by day. Tonight when you are abed, I will churn the butter and scrub the floor and gather wood for the fireplace. But you must never try to watch me doing it, or that will be the end of you." Tante Eveline agreed because she thought the bargain quite fair. That night she climbed into her bed and pulled its curtains tightly shut. But she didn't go to sleep for a while. How can such a tiny man churn the butter and scrub the floor and gather wood for the fireplace? She asked herself. Then she muttered, "But I must not weary my head this way," and fell asleep. Next morning, to her surprise and delight, she found butter in yellow loaves, the floor shiny clean, and wood stacked by the fireplace. The little lutin was having a breakfast of bread and milk by a table leg. So it went. Every morning Tante Eveline awoke to find all the chores done and the tiny man eating his breakfast. At last she could stand the mystery no longer. Her head was too weary with wondering. The next night she settled herself in bed and lay awake for hours. Then she quietly pulled the curtains open and stepped to the floor. She crept to the door and opened it a slit. There, in the kitchen, in place of the tiny man, was a giant in black whose great arms were clearing ashes from the fireplace. Tante Eveline screamed. The giant turned around, his face contorted with rage. "You have disobeyed me," he roared, "so now I must put an end to you." He took 2 big steps toward the bedroom with his great fists clenched. Tante Eveline shook from her teeth to her toes, and her face grew pale as endive. Then she remembered the lutin had said that if the eggshell was crushed, he would disappear forever. She reached the shelf by her bed just as the giant stooped to sidle through the doorway. She grabbed the velvet-lined box. As the giant reached for her, she crushed the eggshell halves between her fingers. The giant began fading away until only his angry face hung in the air. Then that disappeared too. Tante Eveline stumbled back to her bed and crawled in. As she pulled the covers up, she mumbled, "At least I won't have to weary my head anymore."